Quiet on the set. Here we go. Five, four, three, two, one. Hello, everybody. I'm Dear Myrtle, your friend in genealogy. Not so retired as I am. Good to see you here. This is Mondays with Myrt, where we talk about anything and everything that's come across our genealogy desk in the last 2 weeks since last we met. Our question for the week is, or for the day, because man, we get a lot of genealogy questions to solve. But today I'm asking you in the audience on the YouTube side, as well as my panelists, when is the right time to enter data into your genealogy management programs? It can make a difference, and must be speaking with Jill about that specifically. So she's got a great example, a prime example, where you could be making problems for yourself. All right, let's see who's over there on the YouTube side. I see the world's greatest neighbor, Maria. We've all moved from the old neighborhood. Sounds like we're from Brooklyn, doesn't it? Hi, sunny and very hot. Yes, hello from Raleigh. Good to see you, Raleigh. Hello, Barbara. So good to see you. Yes, and thanks, Sherry, for being our hostess with the mostest on the YouTube side. Let's see who else is here. Dawn is here. Let me go to the top of the list. I try to say your names. I feel like the romper room lady. And I can see Dawn, and I can see, well, of course, I can see Randy here and on the YouTube side. Frank says it's cooler over there in Germany. We do have an international panel today. Hillary's here, our gal in Wales, and it's only about 73 degrees Fahrenheit. When I see 23 degrees Celsius, I don't do the math. I don't know why. I really should. Kathleen is here. It does. It's been feeling like fall in the Pacific Northwest this last couple of days. We never get rain like this. And from our group of friends up there in Canada, we have Ellen on the panel today in rural Alberta. And Paul's here, and Sheila. Hi. And let's see what else we've got. Tammy. Oh, hi, Tammy and Mom Mary. Good to see you. She's one of our new to Mondays with Myrt, but very experienced researchers, and they make quite a pair from all I can tell. Hi, Valerie. Good to see you. But I do like to mention your names because it helps to be recognized. Hi, Cindy. There's our Bill Moore. You'll find him over on Substack too. Yeah, and Sherry's making the announcement that there will be a drawing today. And the way that you do it is to just type Mondays with Myrt, all one word, doesn't matter upper or lowercase, just no spaces. And you got to have the pound sign in front of it. The hashtag. I'm old school, I guess, and call it that. Yeah. And here's what I'm going to be giving away. Let me show you. I have figured out how to make this book, which is the newest book from Elizabeth Shown Mills, a stripped bare guide to citing and using history sources. I have figured out, wouldn't it be nice if I finish my sentences? Anyway, I figured out how to make it into a book club of 4 weeks duration. And then we are going to tackle Albion seed again. It's been a number of years since we did a study group on Albion seed. And it's really, it can be done in a 4-part series, but I might make it 8. I'm working on how to redesign it. Albion Seed is a book by David Hackett Fisher, and I'm pretty sure that Randy will share the links with you for these books. Albion Seed was about tracing who came from England or UK, in the 1600s, early 1700s. And you can trace who they are by their architecture, their colloquial uses of words in the English language that persist to this day, etc. And so it's the subtitle of Albion Seed is Four British Folkways in America. Yeah. Yeah. Somebody said, there's Tammy again. Somebody said this looks like an easy book to digest. And I think it is. Remember that Mondays with Myrt is for beginning genealogists and their friends, because a lot of you out there, and I know you pretty darn well, some of you very well, you've been panelists for me and Cousin Russ before. This is as opposed to, oh my gosh, I try to pull it out every week, the actual Bible of crafting citations for history and genealogy. And I've always said you don't want to drop that on somebody's toe, especially a newbie. It'd be a bit overwhelming. So if you would like to be in the running for one of these two books coming up, Albion Seed, please type in that hashtag. All right, quick introductions to everybody, and then we'll introduce you to our AI guest today. Okay, so our panelists today are Frank, as I mentioned. Hi, Frank. And Randy. And Jill. Jill's just down the way from me. Did you do your stint at the Seattle Genealogical Society yesterday, Jill?
Yes, and I'll do it next Friday as well.
Okay. I won't be there on Friday. It's our 16th wedding anniversary. Yay! And then there's Ellen and Hillary. So good. Let me have Frank bring everybody to the wings, and I will bring up my guest for today. Oh, he was at Roots Tech. He had a booth. You can still see a video about him as he describes something that he is developing. This is Kelly Bennett, and we know somebody named Bennett, as in Shannon Combs Bennett. Any relation?
Yes, actually, she is my wife.
Yes. And those of us who've known her for years remember even before she worked for Colonial Dames and all that she's gone through with her education and certifications. And so she's the genealogy nut in the family. And how did she, I guess it's pillow talk, huh? To pull you into the genealogy vertical as well?
So I've been developing software for about 30 years, and some things would always come up when we would talk about genealogy. We're both history nuts, and I wanted to know more about the history around what was going on. And she's like, well, I'll get to that. And so I'd always go out and do a bunch of research on the history. And when AI came around, I'm like, I bet you AI can answer a lot of those questions quickly, and give me comparative sources. So I know that, if rather than, hit Wikipedia and go, well, that doesn't sound right, and then have to go look at all the sources, I can actually compare different sources through using AI. So it kind of evolved from that interest in the history and the social context of what was going on with the ancestors she was telling me about that sort of drew me in.
Yeah, that's what keeps me in the world of genealogy, is finding out more about the actual story of what could have been their experience in life, because there was a flood that affected that whole part of a state or a country. And I might not be aware of that. And that helps me put into context push-pull factors for migrations and things like that.
Absolutely. People move for a reason.
They do. They do. And in fact, this book that I'd mentioned, I'm giving away a copy of this book from my remote offices at Amazon.com. That whole book, other than saying, these are the New England people, these are the Pennsylvania Quakers, these are the Cavaliers, it's all about the context of their clothing styles, the way they laid out their property. Did they have a place in town, but the farm's out west, out of town? I don't mean west. That could mean many different things depending on the time period. But their attitudes toward education or marriage and all those cultural things that we don't know about for that time period and that place.
And that's been one of the cool things about working with AI is it'll often pick up cultural norms and cultural nuances. So it'll say, I have an example where it said that specifically this 19 and 20-year-old probably didn't get married at this time period. And the reality was they were seafaring. So a 20-year-old man got on a ship and he came back 5 to 10 years later. And the AI actually said it's normally 5 to 10 years at this time period. And I thought it was hallucinating, so I had to go research it. And no, a 16 to 20-year-old man, an able-bodied male at appropriate age, got on a ship, and he came back when he was, an officer, or he came back when he was, dead or drunk. And guess who the women want to marry? They want to marry the officer. So he was marrying widowers who were 10 years older than him, or women who were 5 to 10 years younger than him, whose families wanted them to marry officers. It was correct. And that was a nuance I would have never thought of until much further into the research.
I'm glad that we had this discussion because AI isn't just a quick answer. It is, we hope it, well, it does act very quickly. And there are, as you say, hallucinations to be considered. But you mentioned something, and that was multiple resources to give us information about a topic. So tell me, I'm going to start sharing your screen. Pull that up just a second here. You have developed a use of AI, and it's called the Genealogy Genie AI, and it's in beta.
Yep.
Talk to me about this, and I'm going to make it full screen so everybody can see. That helps me. Okay, so what have we got here? Dashboard, project.
Yep. So this is just the login screen. Obviously, the first time you log in, it'll be blank. But since I've used it quite a bit, I have stuff here. So we have projects, which are just groups of people. Let you put them together. Let you look at the family trees and what have you. Individuals is just everybody that you've entered into the system. So I've got about 2,000 people in this system that I've entered. So, or not all entered. Some of them imported by GEDCOM, obviously. But the real fun part is when you start looking at the individuals. So we'll do QA, and the AI does the QA, and that's where you find out the nuances, right? So this is a George Brassfield labeled the second. So this is the Brassfields from Who Do You Think You Are with Reba McEntire.
Yes.
So please don't audit the dates because I do mess with stuff occasionally. And so this is saying essentially that while the birthday information exists, research can cover baptism records. So we pretty much just don't have any of the records for this. And so it's indicating to me that perhaps this is a good new connection of both research capability, but also a place where you could actually make some breakthroughs in the history of the people around George Brassfield. So this would be the second, the child of the immigrant George Brassfield. Well, and so it's taking that into account.
Yeah. So we are talking the Virginia colonial America.
Correct.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
And so this is the immigrant of George Brassfield, which in Who Do You Think They Are? I believe they claim all the Brassfields are descended from him. So we just won't get into that. That's a whole other conversation. But so one of the things I thought of when I started working on this is AI doesn't do anything new, right? It's not capable of creating new stuff, especially when we're talking about historical facts, right? We don't want it creating new historical facts. But what it can do is it can pull together information you may not know from people who do know about it, right? So it's like, it's somebody knows something about this, and hopefully multiple people know something about this, and it can pull it together and present it to you either in a new way, because you may be an expert in Virginia and I'm not, even though I live there, but I'm not an expert in it. But it may bring some nuances that I hadn't thought of, but especially when you're not in an expert in it. So my wife did a series for us where she did Italian research. She's not an Italian researcher. But using this tool, their blog post out on our website. But using this tool, she was able to make quite a bit of progress on an aunt of hers who is of Italian descent. And so it's not going to make up anything new. But it will hopefully bring you. Well, it shouldn't make up anything new. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But it should bring things to your attention that you might not have thought of, or in ways that you might not have thought of.
Well, let me bring this comment in from the YouTube side. World's Greatest Neighbor said, adding history to genealogy research is a gift to yourself and adds the crown molding to the experience. It's not just the date and the name.
Sure.
It's filling in the blanks. And thank you to Randy for sharing this link with everybody. This is the link to Kelly's Roots Tech 2025 video about what genealogy Genie AI is. So you guys will want to go to that. You know, Kelly, one of the reasons why I invited you when we first talked last, like the middle of spring, I think it was. And I said, this is perfect for having a discussion during Mondays with Myrt, because I want people to get the brand recognition, the colors you use on your website. And so they feel comfortable looking at it and they hear who you are as a person. That also builds, you know, I know it's a business, but it builds confidence because they see you as a reliable person. And AI is sometimes a scary project for people that are newbies.
Sure.
They've heard about this hallucination thing.
Absolutely.
And you're right. There is also bad information out there that was put out and not hallucination on the part of an AI, large language model, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
But let's get back to your explanation of how this works.
Sure. So I sort of fast forwarded a little bit since we were talking about history, but essentially what it comes down to is you set up, you know, you're building out a timeline. So you start with the person's birth, everyone gets a birth. If you entered a death year, then they get a death as well. And then you can work through the middle of that, right? So, you know, if I were just starting with George Brassfield's birth, then I wouldn't necessarily have all these other pieces about his indenture and his migration to the colonies and things of that nature. And so one of the first places the AI hits the data is when you enter it and you enter a place. I just put in Macclesfield, UK, right? And I hit save, and the AI goes and says, well, okay, at the time it was this. Today it's known as this, right? And it's actually in Cheshire East as opposed to Cheshire due to their redistricting. But also Presbury is important. And why is Presbury important? Well, that's where the nearest parish church was. And I can tell you that George's parents' marriage record is actually at that church as opposed to the Macclesfield church that people may be familiar with due to the show.
This is very important. We've seen this in static pages, not dynamic interactive pages like this where you type in the date. And this saves the person, you know, they want to know where to look for that record. And they may still see it as just Cheshire, not Cheshire East, which you would not know unless you happen to be Claire Brissenbanks, who knows stuff like that. She's really good on Scotland and UK. She's a pro researcher, does research for people.
Right.
Randy says he usually starts with marriage or death, but I think, Randy, it's okay. You can start the timeline with whatever you know, right, Kelly?
Yeah. Well, we know everyone's born. And so when you enter this information, you can tell me that this is an estimate, right? So if you know roughly where they got married, if you stumbled across a marriage certificate, right? Or a note in a family Bible, right? You can put it down and be like, okay, I think at that time period, they were probably about 20, right? And so, or, you know, and you can make that estimate and the AI can help you correct that. And you can put it in there. Because I do require, because everyone is born, I do require you to give me a birth date, but you can tell me it's an estimate, right? You don't have to tell me. It doesn't have to be
sometimes
perfect.
we get it. Sometimes we get it from a tombstone. You went to a funeral and the burial in your family, and then your grandma says, I'm going over here to see my mother's tombstone. And so you have a death date and that she died at 89 years of age. There's your estimated birth date.
Right. Exactly.
Got it.
And so, and this obviously goes to colonial Virginia, and where they live in colonial Virginia, is one of the original big founding counties. So as we move forward in the timeline, we get split counties. And so it'll say things like, well, I know you told me it was Essex County, but at this time period, Spotsylvania split off. So make sure you're researching in the right place. It won't make that decision. So you told it was Essex, so it'll likely make Essex the first one. But then it will tell you, unless you put in a specific town, unless you know the town, it'll tell you afterwards, hey, Spotsylvania split off this year or the year after, the year before. Check those records too. And so, and obviously, your countries in Europe are all changed borders a lot.
Oh, golly, that's for sure. You know, Kelly, one of the challenges for me has been that, you know, my fellow died in Kentucky, and his father also died in Kentucky. And but when his father died, it was Lincoln County, and by the time the son dies, it's another county, and I thought he moved. He didn't.
Right.
The county boundaries changed.
Correct. Yep. And I actually have some examples in Lincoln County, so I know exactly what that looks like.
Yes.
And so the next thing we do, so once we're pretty sure about that, right? Or we've entered that, maybe we entered the marriage, right? Whichever one we've actually, whichever one of these is our bookmark, right? Or I guess our tombstone, right? Where we're starting our research.
Yes.
You can come over and do AI research. And the first thing it'll do is it just wordsmiths a nice little thing here, right? And this one I actually marked as confirmed because it's confirmed. And that's why it says it's a fact. Otherwise it'll label it a theory.
Oh, good.
And then I literally asked the AI, what would it be like, in this case, it's a birth, right? What would it be like to be born in Macclesfield, England in 1689, right? And so it gives me, and this one's been through a few machinations, and which is why it's talking about religious life, but I also ask it about, transit links and socioeconomic factors. And apparently it decided in this instance that this was the most important item to highlight for me. And I always ask for source citations. Now, there's a nice little thing down here at the bottom. I put the wrong thing there. That says that source citations are particularly unreliable. It's a little bit of a small print. Source citations are a challenge for AI. They are known to be a challenge for AI. They're acknowledged by the AI providers to be a challenge. I say there are two truths and a lie, and this is probably correct. This probably came from there. It might not be volume 143, right? Or if you get a blog post, right, it may have the title of the blog correct. It might have the author correct, but the URL may be incorrect. Or it might have the title and the URL correct, but the author is wrong. It's nothing I did. It's just a challenge that AI currently has. And every month or two, I see big leaps in things getting better. But the source citations I always ask for them. Since I started this, I've asked for source citations. I didn't show them till about 3 or 4 months ago because they weren't very good, but it's part of the way I try to control hallucinations by making the AI justify where it got the information from.
Okay.
And then we talk about records. So, if it's a burn county, it'll tell you that here. In this case, it's saying, hey, St. Michael's Parish Church is actually pretty good for birth records by this time period. So start there and see where you go. Bishop's transcripts are actually where some of this comes from. So it actually nailed that pretty well. But burn counties, it'll tell you that. I do have an example from Italy of a town that was part of the Prussian Empire and then moved to Italy. And the family they're researching was around that time period. Well, it told me that while this town is in Italy, and the records for the other things that I'm researching, like a birth and a death, were likely in there because they were done by the churches, and Austria really just wanted numbers, right? How many cows, how many males, how many females, how many pigs, how many horses. The military records aren't in Italy. The military records for that time period have never been repatriated to Italy. They're actually still in Austria. The people doing the research didn't know that. They're like, because they were focused on that town's records. And I said, well, now you got an excuse to go to Austria because they're not digitized.
So this is very intriguing to me, and that's why I said I wanted to meet with you and discuss this. I like that you can have projects. For instance, right now, I have been working on a lot of things on my early Fromans.
Sure.
and what they did here in the Americas. But I have a nephew who wants, this is a nephew by marriage, one of Mr. Myrt's nephews, who has Italian roots starting on the third generation back.
Right.
And this is going to help me because I can have a different project and the thinking is in a different space.
Right.
Didn't obliterate what I already had on the Froman work.
Right. Now, if you have people who cross over projects, the relationships will show up across the project. So
that's very intriguing. Yeah.
So my brass fields here, this is the immigrant brass field, and I have another project that is the Virginia to North Carolina brass fields. Because if I actually do build it out, it gets pretty complicated with the folks who immigrated from the UK and that first generation, and then from that generation down into North Carolina, and then from North Carolina they spread to the winds. So my plan was, if I ever build that part out, which this is not active research, so it's not really gonna update itself. So
that answers Randy's question. Does the genealogy Genie AI actually search? So it's pointing us to record sets that we can then look at based on.
So I've got so there's two answers to that. One is yes, and the other is more later. So we do tell you once you kind of looked over your insights and you've kind of looked at some of the additional ones to see if there's anything important here, like, that's where we get things like, hey, these are Ulster Scots and they're migrating in the Ulster Scot migration pattern. And that's always cool when the AI notices a known pattern. These aren't Ulster Scots, by the way, but my others are. You can come over here and you click the little button here to say, hey, do some research for me. It'll say, okay, well, I think the archives that should have this are these archives, right? And you see these yellow ones in the middle here that I'm scrolling quickly through, but we'll go back to them. So it'll tell you, here's what I think the archives are. And then it will go out, as long as the person is marked as deceased, so they have a death date, it will go and do smart web research. So that's where it actually starts searching. And we do use Google for our search, for our retrieval augmented search. And it will go through, and the first thing we ask it is, develop a plan. So here's what I know. And what I know is essentially this little analysis here. And I also say, you might find some of these other names in the analysis. I don't want to tell it who, because I don't want to cap its analysis, right? And you might find some of these other places, Essex County, Virginia, in the research. And again, I don't want to tell it what, because I want it to do. And it goes out and it normally generates a 10 to 20 step plan. I don't tell it how many steps. I do tell it to use the genealogical proof standard, and I do tell it I want source citations for everything.
All right.
So it then walks through each step and does the research. And then it does a summary at the end. And that's this nice little fancy summary here. If it thinks it was critical, if it thinks it was what I give it a 4 or 5 grade, then it will all show up under suggested or recommended. If it's under a 4, a 1 to a 3, it'll put it under the suggested. So we've got recommended, which is we think are high value, suggested, which you might want to get to later. In the summary, I'll show you a little bit about it. I tell it, and I don't dictate the format, which you can probably tell, but I do tell it I want to know what was proven, what was disproven, and I want a timeline, and I want a friends, associates, neighbors, and I want a summary, and I want all of the source citations. So even if the source citations were not cited in this analysis, this is all the sources that it considered. You'll see that it has family search. You'll see that it has find my past. You'll see that it has ancestry. I can't always search those records because some of them aren't public. So I will search public trees. I will search public indexes because, again, I'm using Google as the search engine for that. So if they're available on Google, I'll likely have pulled them in, but I will have correlated them with other information that's available. So I know that Find My Past and Ancestry have the Cheshire Parish records. So the AI will have correlated the information that it was able to find publicly on those, along with blog posts that may have talked about them, along with the stuff that's on the splash pages at Cheshire, which basically says, please go see these if you want to see them. If you want it for free, come to our reading room. And then so it did check nonconformists just to make sure these are not nonconformists. I can spoil that. Oh, and here's a blog post where they talked about this. And this is the 2 truths and a lie. So Trials and Tribulations of Family History, Forced Colonial Migration to Maryland. I happen to know the author of this blog post. She happens to be sitting in her office upstairs. But I think the URL is incorrect, right? I don't believe that is actually the URL. So again, two truths
and yet that's an AI problem, not I mean, that is across the board.
It is across the board.
Any kind of, it's not just your use of AI. It's a problem that they haven't solved yet.
Yeah, and I'll warn you that when you use the chat bots, sometimes there's multiple different AIs taking part. Even though you think you've chosen one, they have other AIs that are doing things like filling in their source citations and doing some other stuff like that. So you may see slightly better results in certain chatbots. Plus, some chatbots and some models are better at it than others.
I get that.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, let me come through with some more comments from the YouTube side, because this interactivity is just amazing.
Absolutely.
First of all, Hillary's been making notes to see about accuracy. You're doing fine. She used to live in Cheshire. Good. She is in Wales, but her research is in England.
Yep, I've actually visited this church. I've actually been to this part of the UK.
Yeah. So let's see. Frank says, would the AI know if the records were moved from one place to another?
For the most part, yes. I will. There's two pieces to that. If the AI's training data is out of date and it was a recent move, so for example, if there was suddenly a deal struck between Italy and Austria for Italy to digitize all of those military records and move them, we might miss that. If the retrieval augmented search, the smart web research, was able to find that on Google, then obviously that would know. So let's just say it's less than a year out of date most of the time, because that's how the models are obviously being developed very quickly. It's usually in the 3-month time period. So if it's in the last 3 months, they might not know that they were moved. Yeah. I'll tell you, most of the time today they're copied, right? Virginia is continuously trying to fill in its gaps with research people are doing in the UK and getting official copies of those records.
Okay. Now, this is something we haven't talked about, and that is getting data into it. You type the dates in, and Sherry's asking about GEDCOM, which is the ASCII file that's created, a generic file that has the names, dates, places where your ancestor lived from your genealogy program to a format. I call it the Henry Kissinger of genealogy, because then any other genealogy program can read it, even though it's like 450 years old. The construct, the structure for it.
Right.
Do you import GEDCOMs, and is there a size limitation?
Yes, and yes, and also yes. So yes, we do import GEDCOMs. There is currently a size limitation on it. What we tend to do is, and I'm afraid if I click it, I'm going to open up a folder that will be weird. So let me see here.
Let me get back to your screen share. 1 second. Okay.
Okay. So you can choose a file, and what it will do is it will ask you for dates. And this partly has to do with this beta label. Since we're still in beta, we want people to focus on sort of brick walls and active research. We're getting to the point where hopefully we can, take the beta label off and talk about removing some of the limits. But it wants a date range, and then it will limit itself to about the first 150 people it finds in that date range. It does walk the tree, so it is going to find the oldest person in that date range. It's going to make sure if their parents exist, that their parents are included, and then it's going to walk the family tree down. And why I say about 150 is because we walk to what we kind of think is a natural break in the family. And it will create a project of about 30 to 60 people based on that tree, and then it will move to the next oldest person that is not already in that previous tree, and it will do that. And it creates up to 4 projects. Sometimes it'll create a 5th project if it has a bunch of smaller trees that it's parsed that didn't seem to go very far, and then it'll kind of just throw those into a 5th project.
So it's not a one-to-one upload of a GEDCOM file we create in our genealogy program and then upload. It's an analyzed picking and choosing based on the criteria you just described.
So if you're researching your Civil War ancestors 50 years before, 50 years after, put that in. And I say it's about 100 years in most GEDCOMs. I've got a million line GEDCOM that I was given by somebody that if you choose 100 years, it's going to stop at about 150 people because it is so dense.
Just too massive.
Yeah.
Let's slice and dice.
Like I said, we are literally, as I speak, working on changing some of the stuff underneath the site so that the server can handle it. That's not a problem. All the infrastructure is cloud-based. It's all major cloud providers. And it's all private to us. And your information is private to you. Nobody gets to see your information. So you can't go search somebody else's information in this system. But we are working on being able to get to the point where we can reduce those limitations down to hopefully 0, and we can import your whole GEDCOM.
Frank has a couple of comments. So
Sure.
Thank you for answering Sherry's question. Frank's opinion is that getting URLs fixed is, in his opinion, just a matter of time since we need to train it.
Yeah.
But in regards to that, he's saying, can I set up data not used to train the AI? For example, living people.
So I'm using the large language models, and I use a handful of them. So I test them and I figure out which ones are good at what we're wanting to do for that specific query, and then that's the one we use until I need. And about every quarter, I go through and try it again. So GPT-5 is not very good for what I'm trying to use it for. No offense to ChatGPT and OpenAI, they're perfectly fine. I don't have an opinion one way or the other, but the current GPT-5 model for what I'm doing is not giving me good results. So I'm using Anthropic for a lot of it, and then Google's models for the retrieval augmented pieces. So I don't allow retraining right now. Some of those models allow retraining, and in which case I could potentially open that up, or I could bring in my own model that allowed you to train a derived model based on it. But currently, no, I'm not allowing retraining. That brings me to kind of one of the things that's coming up in the near future, which is to add some agents to this. The first agent I'm going to build is to query our own data. So right now, if you do the Mr. Brassfield here, if you do the retrieval augmented search, if you do the smart web research, we don't have, we don't come back in and search our own data. So for example, you see names in here that may already exist in the system, but there's no indication of that because right now the AI doesn't have access to come back and search our system. Go ahead.
But, and then we've got a technical question. Sure. Could you explain that word retraining as it means?
Sure.
As it applies here with AI.
Sure. So what you can do with some models is you can feed it a new data set and you can make it specific to your use case. So an example of that is your thumbs up and thumbs down. So I could actually give you a thumbs up and thumbs down, and I kind of have that. And I could take those thumbs up and thumbs down and feed that back to the AI and say, okay, here's the kind of stuff that my users found useful. Here's the kind of stuff that my users didn't find useful. And with that, I create my own flavor of the AI. I still have access to all the data that the big guys trained it on, but think of it as sort of a filter beforehand of, hey, this isn't terribly useful for what we're working on. Never give me any results that involve nuclear physics because that's not what we're doing, right?
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Sherry, back to the GEDCOM thing, is saying, so for a real specific research project, when you've got a huge database, how about just exporting a few of the families in that GEDCOM file rather than the whole darn tree?
Right. So that's actually one of the things that I want to do, even when we get closer to taking off the training wheels, is I want to give you a list of basically surnames maybe that you're interested in. And so with that, and that's, again, this is sort of back of the envelope sketch I have right now. With that, I would look at, hey, who are the oldest founding members of these families that you're interested in, and walk those trees forward. So currently, you would have to do it more based on date. But yes, that's one of the things that I want to add is
you're looking at
a family filter. So you go find the founders of that family and say, start here and move forward.
Okay, so let me say a few things here. I think that our followers here, those on the YouTube side and on the panel, get that you're using all the right language of the proof standard? Is it reliable? Thumbs up, thumbs down, even. Is it proved to your satisfaction? The fact that alternatives that I may not have thought of are presented when I use the genealogy Genie AI. How much does this cost? I know that AI is very expensive, and I don't know what kind of a revenue stream you have.
So it costs about $25 a month. If you follow some of the links that have been out on social media, and I think even the one that's on the family search page for Roots Tech, it'll go down to about $20 a month. So we are not currently throttling back the use of AI. We don't say, well, $20 a month gets you 50,000 tokens, and we're going to chisel away at that. I think the Archives of Scotland does that, right? Where you get so many searches for your tokens, right? We're not currently doing that. One, AI has gotten significantly cheaper, especially the way we're able to access it. But also, I want to give you enough. If you're doing that, if you're just out going running search after search after search, I'm not giving you good results, right? So this is one of my analytics of, if I'm giving you good enough results, you're coming out here and you're finding 6 new events in this person's life, a bunch of new people you may want to go research, and enough sources that it's going to take you a while before you feel the need to come out and run another search.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of my analytics of, if you're out there just clicking search, I'm not giving you value, and I need to go relook at what we're producing for you.
Okay, and so when I said AI is expensive, I didn't mean that. I mean, $25 or $20 a month actually is a lot of money for a researcher to spend. They have to be very dedicated, but running an AI model and paying for all of this is expensive on the back side. The front side is we get exposure to things we've never thought of using before.
Right.
Resources that are there. And there's no substitute for being able to think out of the box, to take the blinders off.
Right.
So, how much is that worth to a person?
Right.
To me, I could be spinning my wheels. I'm not, you notice, folks, we're not having to develop prompts. We're just sharing data with the genealogy Genie AI. That's probably the biggest advantage of the interface that you're going to have with this product, is that you don't have to be a Steve Little or Mark Thompson type person that can just write absolutely incredibly deeply considered prompts. Mm-hmm. This isn't a half of a sentence question mark like you ask Google something.
Right.
This is deep. This looks deep to provide the most likely and then alternatives. And you see it in the historical context of county boundary changes or church changes in churches or whatever. And like he says, there's nothing you can do about the fact that if there was a fire last week at a particular archive, and so another archive on the far side of the state or the shire, I guess we could say that, is now archiving the materials that were hand carried out. That doesn't show up yet, but that's logical. Right. That makes sense. And
one of the interesting things that comes up sometimes, this one actually, Virginia has a database, so it's not a good example, but Essex County is a burned county in Virginia. And what it will tell you, though, when you get to some of those things is, while Essex County is burned, guess what? This tax roll still exists. It survived. This guy doesn't appear on that tax roll. I've looked. But it actually said, hey, this tax roll for this specific time period actually survived the burning and is available at the Virginia Archives. It'll also tell you things like, well, if you're lucky, they're not in this part of this county, they're in that county, and that county's parish records existed. So go figure out, are they in Spotsylvania? Are they in Richmond? Or are they really in Essex? Because if they're in Essex, you may be out of luck. But if they're actually in one of these others, go look there, because their parish records survived the burning,
Did
where the
survive.
courthouses didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with Maria. Sounds like a fantastic tool. She's our de facto member here of the panel. And then the question from Monique is, did you say there was a roots tech presentation? Yes. The link was shared above, but maybe Monique came late. Could you share that? Yeah, Randy just shared the link. It's right there for you, Monique. And then Claire Brissenbank says, I was recently working with city directories and discovered through ChatGPT there is a city directory for a year I had not been able to find, even in the Internet archives.
Oh,
Awesome.
that's great.
So yes, AI can find stuff. And she just happened to be using ChatGPT. I don't know what version, but you don't have to do that thinking, folks. You just have to ask. Here's what old Myrt recommends. I recommend that you plan ahead and plan to use this AI to help you with research conundrums for a good, solid month. I'm talking order in Chinese, let the dust bunnies gather, focus on that to really use this. Every AI course I've taken at GRIP, etc., from all the big names, if I don't take what I just learned and apply it, it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And but this also helps you all financially. I want you to use Kelly's program. If you're in with your normal research to fill in the blanks. But I want you to, the first month of using it, I'd like to see you doing it 3 times a week so that you are getting not only familiar, I mean, he just showed us how the interface works. It's like a skin on top of a world of AI resources. And then he's also given you not only the skin to type things in or import, but he's also given it to you in a way. Can you print out any of these suggestions? Some people want to know that.
So for the text, there's a copy. And then for all of our images, you can download them. So if you click the download, it'll download the timeline. You click download on the family tree, it'll download the family tree. Otherwise, it's you would just be printing the screen. But yeah, you can copy and paste. And we have our own little research notes area, which does not go to the AI. So you can put personal information in there, whatever you want with it, and it is formatted. So you can paste images in there. So if you want to take an image and paste it there, but we also have it upload documents that you can upload. So I'd rather most of the time you upload the documents, but if it's just a little snippet of a website or something, you can just paste the image in here. And it's formatted, so you can copy it out of here, put it into Word or whatever else you need to.
Okay. And so the formatting carries, it doesn't get stripped.
The formatting will carry if you copy it to something that has formatting like Word. You copy it into a notepad that doesn't do formatting.
We understand that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Bobby says, is there an annual subscription rate?
So there is not currently an annual subscription rate, and that was just me being honest with everybody that we are a startup. I think we're to the point now where we've made the commitment and we've made the investment. So I think we're going to probably debut one. And so I'll be honest, our official birthday is right around October. The first time anybody saw anything about this was at the Genealogical and Heraldic Symposium in Boston last year. So I'm going to consider that our first birth date. Our target is to take the beta off at our first birth date.
That was pretty big assignment to yourself for the first 12 months of doing it.
And then hopefully I can debut an annual subscription at that point too, because at that point it's like, look, we're here, we're doing this.
We're serious.
Yeah, we're serious.
All right. So the AI Group channel, AI Group is the name of the company.
Correct.
And thank you, Randy. He makes me look good because I'm not posting all these things. He's doing it on my behalf. He went to your YouTube channel and is recommending, there's more videos about this. This is a good idea for you to consider from a business standpoint? Is there any time for a free use at all to check it out?
Yep. So it's a 7-day free trial. You can try it out, and I'll be honest, right? It's still in beta. So if you try it out and it doesn't quite work, it's fine, right? I don't take it personally. Stay a member of our site, and we'll send you the monthly newsletter with the updates and stuff. And when we take the beta label off, or if you have a specific suggestion, you can click either the feedback button and give us a
Let me pull up.
sorry, yep.
Let me do it. I'll get you up there. Okay. So
you can either click the feedback button, and this, you can do this if it doesn't quite work. It'll capture a anonymized copy of your screenshot here. So it won't show me any of the data. It'll just show me where you were. But you can use it for anything. Like, hey, it'd be really cool if I could do this. And then the other thing you can do is if you do use it and you're like not quite ready for what I want to do, but I have an idea that would make it, we'll send you an email when you cancel, and you can just respond to that and say, great, like what you've done, hate the color, but I'd really like it if you could do blah, and that would make my life easier. Some of the changes we're making right now in this label you see across the family tree are inspired by feedback that I got from users over the last several months, where we actually had meant to focus on the agent interfaces over the summer. Mm-hmm. But the feedback I got from users basically said, well, no, we're not ready to do that. Let's go back and focus on some usability issues. Let's change the family tree from horizontal to vertical. Let's make the family tree more useful, because it was a little bit sparse in certain scenarios. And let's work on the GEDCOM import. And then we'll work on agents, which is being able to use AI to search other archives and stuff like that in the fall. Yeah.
Okay. So folks, we've been visiting through Kelly's screen shares, the Genealogy Genie AI webpage. And Randy's been doing some deep research over there and said that there are some useful articles at the bottom of the page. So thank you very much for visiting with us today, Kelly. I'm serious. I want to hear what people are learning that they've overlooked. So you're welcome to stay the rest of the show. If you need to get back to coding, I understand that as well. Just thank you so much, and say hi to Shannon for us too.
We'll do that. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes. Wow. All right. This is good. All right. I want to pull Jill up, and we're going to switch gears. And this is the part where I get to share screen again. All right. Wow. That was a great interview. And you notice a lot of the genealogical proof standard, buzzwords came up in that discussion. So you can see he's been conversing and has been well taught by Shannon what we try to do. I asked Jill to be here because a few weeks ago, when we met, she talked to us about a notarial record set, which being able to access this for Quebec, I think it is, right?
Yes.
And we have a couple of things to talk about. And one of them is, well, here's the situation. We kept putting off having this discussion because I wanted you to demonstrate how we can access the index to get to the original marriage entry. Because in Quebec, the notaries kept these. Right. They're called notarial. It's so hard for me to say that word for some silly reason. And the problem was you couldn't get from the index to it the way you had before. Right. And you're researching with the archives in question why there's a disconnect. Mm-hmm. And actually, last thing before I went to sleep, I thought, that's what happens in real life research. We're researching and we find a reference, like maybe from Kelly's program, that tells us to go to this place. There's a reference, but you can't get to the original. You have to send away for it, whatever the problem is. Mm-hmm. Hence our question of the day, which is, do you put that indexed entry in your genealogy program? And if you do, and you filled in like the marriage date and place, Your work's not done, is it, Jill?
No, that's true. And unfortunately, dear Myrt, I have a 10 o'clock
And you have to
that I have
go?
just let them know that I'll be a little late, but I do need to leave rather quickly. So this
Okay.
will be kind of a quick tip. Let's call it a quick tip.
Okay.
So if you'd go to your ancestry, right?
Yeah.
And in this case, we've already gone to the catalog. That's kind of the first tip. Sometimes we put these people's name in right away, and we're not focusing on the actual catalog collection.
Yep.
And so by narrowing it down to the catalog collection immediately, that's a help. So in this case, it's almost required here. Now, my husband has an ancestor that shows up here, and so I'm pretty excited about that. I go to the card catalog, and in the card catalog, I look for notarial. And the notarial records are ones that are kept for countries, not U.S. except Louisiana, that are kept there because they use a civil law system, and that civil law system requires a contract for almost everything. And that was the notary's responsibility to write up these contracts. These contracts are binding. By law, they're binding. So you would see notarial records for rentals, for leases, for land transfers, for marriages, for probate distribution. So these are the records that you actually rely on for a lot of Europeans, Canadians, particularly Quebec and Acadians, as well as Louisiana. So if you go to that catalog and you pull that screen up, and somehow we've lost your screen there. So
yes, but that's because I was trying to focus on what you were saying. Well,
okay.
I didn't want to go to notarial. I'm already at notarial and found
Okay,
them.
let's go to the notarial records now.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, and we have a guy's name of, that's the first section, and we have Jean Charlebois. He was born in 1653 in Montreal. I know that. Okay, so we're good. Okay, click search.
Okay, let me find it. Yes, because I'm zoomed way in.
You'll get 3 pages of records, and he's not on the first page. So keep going down. Oops. Yeah, go up. He is on your first page. Okay, go up. All right, so right up there at Charlebois, where we have the little extra note, it says contract of marriage. And notice it says Jean Charlebois de Jolibois. I know that's my guy because my guy is a D name of Jolibois. So I'm fairly certain. I can view the record here, and I could stop here. But remember, this is just a repertoire, and a repertoire is just a short reminder to the notary that this was done on this date. So if we view the image, nicely done. Yep. We get the image. Now, scroll in here, and I forget where he is on this page. Well, he's down, but it's 1686, so we're pretty far back. We're looking for his marriage, and we come down. He's on number 86. Number 86.
Okay.
On the 10th of November, this particular notary, and notice his name up at the top. We have Pierre Cabizet, right there, right. So oftentimes the families would always go to the same notary. So just be aware of that. But this is just an index. It was done at the time, but it's still just an index. So on the 10th of November in 1686, Pierre wrote this entry about Jean Charlebois de Jolibois marrying Marie Myrt Perrier. So we don't really have the wedding date here because it's going to occur after this. This is the marriage date. This is the contractual notary date, but not the actual marriage date. So now what we want to do is we want to find the originals. And the originals seem to be in Banque, or the Quebec archive. I haven't been able to find it. And so that's been part of the frustration for me, is that I haven't been able to find this marriage entrance yet.
And
but
this is,
I know
this is
I know
a
the
challenge.
date.
This is a challenge because Ancestry's extract or abstract says it's a marriage date, but you're letting us know the peculiarity of how this was entered into the contract, and that on that that's the contract date, not the wedding
That's the
ceremony.
contract,
Drink the
not
champagne.
the actual marriage. Correct. To find the original, I want to keep that date of 10 November and also of 1686, whatever it was, as well as that number of 51. Is that 51? No, 86. 86. That's a check mark by the side. Be careful. I want to keep all that information. And now I am
1686. It just happens that the notarial number or the event that of the notary, it was his 86th event, happens to be the same as the last
just
two.
Happens to be the same. But Myrt, if you look over on the left-hand side, it goes 80, 81, 82, 83.
Yeah, these are actual contracts.
Those are and then he inserted one, 84, 85, 86.
Yeah.
So this is entry 86 on the 10th of November in 1686 between Jean Charlebois de Jolibois and Marie Myrt Perrier.
Yep. Cool.
Now the marriage record will have all sorts of information because Marie Myrt is bringing lots of stuff to this marriage, and they will list all of her dowry. They will have, and they consider the contractual time as a celebration. So it's a party, and they bring all their relatives, and the contract will list all the attendees and their relationship to the bride and the groom.
Fan club identified.
With a lot of same named people. So it can be tough. So that all of a sudden you've got a lot more information. Now you asked the question of the day, which I thought was interesting. Would I enter this in anticipation of getting the marriage contract? The full-blown marriage contract, just the repertoire. They call it the repertoire rather than inventory. Yes, I would. I would enter it, but I would make sure that I said that it was an index and that I wanted to replace it. My to-do list would be replace this.
Sometimes when we just look at a simple data entry screen for a person, and we see their birth and it's by date, and then the marriage and who it's to, we think we finished our work, but we haven't.
No.
And this looks pretty original.
It is. It was written at the time of the event, but it's not the full thing. It's not the full contract. And oftentimes I see people who will just copy the index of a census record. And I think that that's a mistake, because as you go across the line, you often see that the indexer had a problem with how they recorded something. I've got an Eiler recorded as a sailor. I never found him until I did a line-by-line search. Or you might find clear over on the right-hand side of the 1920 census that he served in the Civil War on the Union side.
Just like little information.
Just a little bit of information you might want to know.
Oh, gosh. Go to your meeting.
Thank you very much.
I love you, and I appreciate you.
So thank you.
Oh, isn't she a wonderful gal? Yes. So let's open it up. Let's bring the panelists up, if you would, please, Frank. So with our question of the day, when do you put data like that handwritten and contemporary 18 or 1686 entry when do you put that in your genealogy program? And I'd like to know from each of you. Raise your hand. Who wants to go first? Just dive in here. Randy.
I do it immediately. As soon as I find the name, I put it in. If I'm have a little confidence that somehow it relates to somebody else, a child, a spouse, etc. So immediately, and then I can take advantage of the tools that Roots Magic in particular has. Other programs have tools too, but I can use the task list. I can use and I can then access the ancestry and family search and find my past and my heritage hints. And then I input the data as I find it, and I create sources. So for what Jill just did, I would create the source for that and label it marriage contract or reporting or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
A custom note, and then make notes about it in for that event.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then that leads you to more information, probably with the hints and things like that, or a search on whatever website you're using, and do research to find more. And now we have to use full text search and images, manually, but they're tremendous. So that's what I do. I do it immediately.
Yeah. So actually, you can have, in this case, since we know the date of the contract is different from the date of the actual marriage, you're going to have two entries, one for the contract and one for the marriage. But in my case, I'd have the marriage license date, because that's what I found. And there's no marriage. And then when the marriage return comes in, that's could be any time thereafter. It can also be, if it was microfilmed records, it could be way out of order chronologically, because the minister may have taken a long time to submit the marriage return. There are other cases in the U.S. where when the marriage return is returned, the clerk of that court goes to that original license page where there's room for him to enter in the date of the actual marriage. Kind of interesting. Okay, Hillary, Ellen, Frank, who wants to go next? Ellen, and then
I would put it in as you said, but with the contract stating that it's a contract rather than a marriage, because I'm not sure how its ancestry would bring that into the program, and I download from there, and make sure that I identify that it's a contract and that there's, knowing what I've heard Jill explained, that I need to really look for that marriage record, because it's going to give me so much more.
Yeah. Interestingly, the world's greatest neighbor says, did they have lined paper like that in 1637 or 86, whatever it was? Or is this record a transcript or an abstract of it? I hadn't thought about that, because that's that blue line. I mean, let me share the screen again. It's blue lined. Come on, I can add it to the stage. The red line, yeah, that was printed. So this was not done contemporaneously. But it was probably done because some clerk of the court told his lackeys, please go through all the marriage record contracts and let's abstract them so that we can find them more easily. Yeah, very good. I agree. Lovely handwriting. So they pick the one with the best handwriting. Okay. Yeah, I get this. All right. Hillary next, and then Frank.
Yeah, because you can get situations like I've had where marriage bans have been read, or a license may have been issued, but then the marriage doesn't actually go ahead. So you need to record that, because it's part of the information that you have. There may be something like what happened to me, where there was a child that, even though there wasn't a marriage, there was a child from that relationship, and that is important to document. Yeah.
What it does, if you disregard the labels that Ancestry put on that screen, mischaracterizing it as the actual marriage date, that put a person in a certain place at a certain time. It's part of their timeline. Whether or not the marriage did come to pass is beside the point. And if you missed that and you knew there was a child born to a woman and you didn't know who the father was, you'd want to search for her name and then find her in this contract that never came to fruition. And when that child is born prior to the actual marriage of the man to another person, you would be really confused. What a conundrum. And if you didn't know the territory, remember 76 trombones, the Music Man, you got to know the territory, the salesman said on the train. If you didn't know about marriage contracts and how they were done in Quebec, and the whole notarial thing, as opposed to a courthouse where you'd have to go to the clerk of the court to get it, to get the license to marry. I mean, that 2-line abstract is nothing compared to what you see. Remember, she told us, friends and family on the groom side, friends and family on the bride side. These are all the important things to help us characterize. This is the right Jean Charlebois and Marie Marthe Perrier. I can say Perrier. I've had a little practice with it. Good. Okay, Frank, and then we'll go to the to see what the community has to say.
I would note it as it is written, exactly as it is written. So all the spelling variations, and also what it is just an index, it is a transcription of an index, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the kicker, because I actually got that problem. One of my ancestors had a marriage in a civil office in March, and they needed to marry almost 2 months later. Why? So 2 months later in the church. Normally you keep it very close together. What happened between that? They got a child. So now is the problem. If I just got the church records, the child wouldn't have been legally
illegitimate. Here, yeah.
If I have the civil records, I can say no. They already were a couple when the child were born.
Yeah, and that is a perfect example. Thank you. All right, let's see. Valerie says, yes, I entered the data into my genealogy software program at the time I am doing the research. Do as I go, write as I go, cite once, copy in various and sometimes several places. Very good. And then note what is still pending. Like if you're looking at the index, what are the oddities about it? In fact, I would have to remind myself with a notation, filling in the blank, that this is a notarial record and this was the law of the land, that a contract, to me, a marriage contract, I would have just thought it was a marriage if I didn't have the explanation that our Jill gave us before she had to go. And we just got so involved with visiting with Kelly that the time flew by. But I try to be respectful of my panelists' time. Anyway, okay. And Sherry says, I always look at the Ancestry source tab to see the collection history. Okay, let me share my screen and let's try that. Okay, we can do this, Myrt. You can do it. Okay, no. this is the go away thing. And this is to share. This is to make that part full screen. This is where you can add additional information, but that doesn't help us get to a space to explain it. So let's go back to the database itself before we find the actual entry. Oh, wait, there's the source. I thought. Here's the source tab. All right, let's see if it explains it.
Yep.
Written by official notaries. But that's very general. It doesn't explain the part about prior to marriage. Yeah. And look at the time period it covers, 1637 through 1935. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Good thinking, guys.
I may have the actual marriage, which the names don't quite tally, but they possibly have. It possibly is the marriage.
You think you do?
Yeah, I think it's in the Druin collection.
Oh, okay. Now Druins is a secondary. It's a he compiled things. So
there's an actual image on Ancestry there.
Okay, can you give me the link?
Yeah, it's in the private chat.
Oh, okay, good. See if I can bring it up. Accept all. No. I can't sign in. All right, let's try this. Try to bring it up. Okay, come on. Okay, it's going to send me a text message. Luckily, I have my phone. Well, I don't mind two-part authentication. Okay, 22991. All right, it failed. Maybe I did the numbering wrong. Oh, 229911. Okay. All right. We may have solved your problem. Let me share my screen and go full screen. It looks like the right person. And the marriage took place on the 25th of November. Let me zoom in a little.
The names are slightly different, but obviously, if a clerk has copied something, they might have just read it as such and such, and it might be.
Okay, father, mother, but let's go look at it, at the actual page. Oh my gosh. All right. I can't.
That middle one. It's the one. Yeah, the middle one.
This one?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But it's not saying I'd have to look at it. But here are some. Marie. Yeah, I can see there are other names there. I just. Yeah.
I think it's.
Thank you for finding this. So. Let's send that link over to her. Put it in our secret private panelists only chat.
Yeah, the link for the UK one is there, but I don't. But
well, I was
able to bring it up. And everything on it. It's got the collection and everything on it, so you can probably bring it up elsewhere, can't you?
Yeah, but I'm able to bring it up and just like Jill would with that link. Because I have an Ancestry account. Yeah. Okay, so we're getting other names there. I just can't read them.
I think the father's name of the groom and things like that are there.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, anything else? Let's see. Maria says this whole thing is a great reason to have your own genealogy software because you can make notes about doubts, further research, best way to stay organized versus pieces of paper that get lost, especially when you move, Maria, huh? I hear you. And Claire says, I do agree with Maria. I think I would go and search for the actual marriage. The Canadian records are usually pretty good. I can't believe she's trying to get it directly from the records. So let me tell you about the Druin collection. These are his abstracts. He was a person that was a genealogy nut. So when I said Druin, you have to, let's find out what the Druin collection is. Let me just search for that. Not that I want to do it. I want to know what is the Druin collection. And apparently it's in a lot of places, but I want the description of it. Who compiled the Druin collection? Oh, golly. We'll let AI tell us. Yet the Druin Institute, it focuses on Quebec's vital records. Let me zoom in so you can see this. The collection itself was initiated in the early 20th century. So this is still not the original, even though it was old-looking, scratchy handwriting. And the aim was to preserve and provide access to those earlier records. And the Druin collection, which is a compilation of many different things, includes birth, marriages, and deaths from Quebec's vital records. It focuses on those vital records to provide access. Now, what happens? I mean, they tried their best, right? Just like indexers misconstrued is that an S or an L or an F? That in a census record for a leading letter in a surname, it puts it in a whole different Soundex code area. If even with two people plus a computer using the old family search indexing process, they all could make the same mistake. We want to still look at the original. Okay. If you hadn't said Druin and I hadn't looked at the top, I would have thought that's the original record. Melinda, hi Melinda. She's over there too on the YouTube side. Thanks to Sherry and Melinda for keeping tabs on things over there. You have to remember the laws of the place, civil law versus common law. And boy, Melinda and I sat in the back of the room taking a law class from the legal genealogist, Judy Russell. And she honed in on, just because where you've been doing research was civil law, doesn't mean it's the way it was in this new area of research. You have to know the territory. And if they use common law, you have to restructure your thinking. How's our time?
Almost out.
Gone.
We're about done.
Yeah. We've just got to do the giveaway, haven't you?
Giveaway tool. Okay. All right. So I've had about well, right now there are 42 watching this live. Please type in your Mondays with Myrt with a hashtag like this to get a chance. And I'm giving away 2 different things. So couple of these Mondays with Myrt entries are me typing in Mondays with Myrt. Okay, and thank you for reminding me about the giveaway. Gosh, we have had a really great discussion today on, how to do research, the thinking process we have to go through to try to figure out how do we keep track of what we've looked at and what we still need to look at, what we still need to find. All right, where's my sticky note tab thingy-bob? Okay. All righty. So we've got 26 entries. This first one is for the Stripped Bare Guide. And I'm going to click Draw. And we'll see who wins it. Yay, Bobby. I may still have your address in my address book on Amazon. I don't know. But please write to DearMYRTLE@gmail.com. And we are going to then be sending you that book. And the other book we're going to be studying, which is, boy, the paper is very thin. The text is probably 9-point font Times Roman. Yeah, I believe in marking up a book when I'm studying. Let's see who wins this book. Okay, I'm going to draw again, and they will have eliminated Bobby since she won the first thing. Congratulations, Bobby. Stripped bear. Hillary, do you have this book, Hillary?
No.
All right, win it. Now I'm going to give you the. You can't order from Amazon US, can you?
I can order but I think I haven't used the .com for a long time, and sometimes you've got to then pay the extra to get it. So I can order through. Well, yeah, I know.
All right, so here's what I suggest we do. You look it up on Amazon.co.uk.
Yeah.
And tell me the price, and then I'll send you the funds. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm very excited that you won that one. So this one is Bobby. This one is Hillary. Hillary. That way I'll remember. I actually had somebody write to me, and they were not the winner. This was years ago, and that's when Cousin Russ kept track of the names for me. And yeah, but most of us are honest. Yeah. Don't forget to let me know, Hillary. I'm glad that you won. Okie dokie, Artichoke. Well, what a day we have had. I loved it. We didn't get to other things that were on the list, including how Frank did some research for my writing accountability person, Miriam. We didn't get to talk with Randy about AI, but I think some of the questions that Randy contributed were very useful. I appreciate Ellen for keeping me on my toes too. Thank you. Yes, congratulations to the winners. Thanks for these genealogy research insights. I agree. And yes, we all miss our cousin Russ. I think of him the first of every month because he used to remind me, back up, back up, back up, even though I do back up. All right, nothing left to say, but I'm Dear Myrtle, your not so retired friend in genealogy. Happy family tree climbing, everybody. That's a wrap.